There is a lot of bad information out there about how to properly vent your roof and your attic space. If your roof isn't vented correctly, then your roofing material isn't going to last as long as it's supposed to. So as a homeowner, what are the things that you need to know about roof ventilation? Well, we're going to ask a roof ventilation expert to explain it to us. Okay, Slate, tell me what an improperly ventilated roof looks like.
Well, there's a lot of them. A lot of improperly ventilated roofs are ones that the intake either is non-existent, or if it's there, they've painted over it or blown insulation over it.
Yeah.
To really inhibit the airflow to get in and out of there. A lot of other challenges I see are products that have, really aggressive filters in the exhaust vents that just clog up and get dirty. They're essentially furnace filters, a lot of them.
I guess what we need to do first is clarify your terms.
Okay.
What's an intake vent? What's an exhaust vent? Why are those two important, and what do they do?
Okay. So intake vents are vents located in the bottom third of an attic space. Most often we see them as soffit vents, and that's to allow fresh, new air inside of the attic. Now, as the attic gets warm, that hot air rises and leaves through your exhaust vents. So that when you vent up to code, doing it the right way, you're getting 10 fresh air exchanges per hour to keep it pretty darn close to the temperature inside of your attic.
Okay, so every roof ideally should have intake and exhaust for it to be properly ventilated.
Yes, any normal attic space, that's absolutely true.
Walk us through why ventilation is so critical for your roof.
Well, your asphalt doesn't respond well to heat or to sun. So they address the sun issue by covering the asphalt shingles with granules. That also makes it aesthetically appealing. The heat, though, that can be generated in an attic can deteriorate that shingle very, very fast. In fact, I was on a roof right here in Monument about 6 years ago that was 9 years old and completely shot.
Yeah.
Because there was no ventilation in the attic space.
If the roof isn't vented correctly, apart from heat buildup, what other problems can happen?
So in the winter, condensation becomes an issue.
Okay.
So, average family of 4 creates 4.5 gallons of moisture a day, and that is trying to get out of the house. Particularly here in Colorado, so humidity will always follow two principles. The first of which, it wants to go from hot to cold. So a good way to think of this is in the summertime, you walk outside with a cold glass of water and it's warm outside. The humidity, even though it's dry here, humidity is in the air attacks that cold surface. And that's what happens in an attic space, is it gets cold at night, and you have a warmer attic, it hits that cold roof deck, and it condensates there. Usually it turns into frost, and then the sun will come up, hit it, warm it, and it'll melt, and then it turns into mold and mildew and rot.
So you talked about, when we started, the intake vents getting blocked, painted over, covered up with insulation. Is that a common problem? I mean, why is that happening?
Well, lack of knowledge probably is the number one thing. Yeah. I don't think insulation companies understand ventilation. I've talked to many of them. Some contractors do both insulation and roofing. And when I teach them about not covering up the soffit vents and putting baffles in there over the vents to keep the insulation from covering it up, they tell me that's how they're taught to do it, to blow it all the way up against the roof deck, and then, they don't think about the attic ventilation.
As a homeowner, since this video is for homeowners, how can a homeowner know whether or not his intake vents are doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Get up in your attic. You don't need to really get up and crawl around, but at least get up waist high. If you see light coming up through your soffit vents, then you know that they're actually open and working and air's flowing. Pay attention to the temperature in there. If it's 50 degrees hotter in your attic than outside, you're not getting the airflow you need.
What should the temperature difference be, roughly?
There's a big variance there. Like a home like this that's surrounded by trees, don't get a lot of sun on it, it won't get that hot compared to one that has full sun, all day long. But I'd say anything 35 degrees or less is good. Once you start getting 45, 50, 60 degrees hotter, that's really bad. I've been in attics that are 165 degrees in there.
Yeah, that's just baking the shingles from underneath.
That's correct.
All right, so a lot of homeowners may not even know what intake ventilation looks like, right? What if a homeowner wants to know, do I even have intake ventilation, what does he look for? Not going up in his attic, but just
Okay,
around
from
his house.
outside, yeah, just so look up in the overhangs where the roof, where you have the wall of the house, there's what's called a soffit, the overhang. Look in there, usually you'll see either a continuous strip, maybe you'll see a bunch of little holes perforated in the soffit. Sometimes there's rectangular vents that kind of look like your air conditioning intake vents in your house. So you'll see they're usually louvered, and that's what you look for.
If a homeowner is going to be having his roof redone, or maybe he just realizes that he's got problems, his attic is way too hot, what does he do if he can't put soffit vents? If he can't put intake vents in his soffits, what does he do?
And so there are homes built that way. So there are roof-mounted intake vents. I would be very careful which ones you select. I would advise you to get ones that say they're Miami-Dade hurricane approved. Again, always beware of filters and vents, as they tend to clog up. So look, as long as you're addressing those issues, the Miami-Dade County lets you know it won't leak. The screens help take care of the fire mitigation, and then not having filters make sure it will work as long as the roof's on there.
So basically what you're saying is, if he doesn't want to put soffit vents, intake vents in his soffit, there's a way to put intake vents on the roof surface.
That's correct.
A lot of the older houses have gable vents, and that's all they've got. Gable vent on this side, gable vent on this side. Is that good ventilation? If a homeowner has gable vents, is that good ventilation?
It's certainly not ideal. Look, that's how homes were built for decades, up until the 60s and 70s. That's when roof vents started to come into play. And the reason why is roof vents are actually much better at keeping weather out of the attic. Gable vents, particularly in snowy climates, but even in wind-driven rain, it's one end sucking air in, it's going out the other.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, but weather gets in those, which is why we've largely switched to intake vents down at the eave with, exhaust vents up near the peak. That's the way building codes are written and have been now for decades.
Yeah.
To try and move away from that gable vent.
Yeah. Now, explain the difference between an active and a passive ventilation.
Okay, so excellent question. So, passive is what I call static vent. Those are vents that operate purely on cool air coming in, the temperature getting warm in the attic, the hot air rising and leaving through your exhaust vents. Those are good, they do the job, they'll get that 10 fresh air exchanges per hour. However, sometimes you have homes that are designed in a way where you really can't use those, like hip roofs. My house where I live is a good example. I have 14 feet of ridge. I would have needed 12 slant back vents. Where am I going to put all those? Right. Ridge vent can't get me to where I need.
You just checkerboard them down the roof. Like I've seen. Yeah.
I see it going home every day. One of my neighbors has that. So I chose to go with 3 whirlybirds. I like whirlybirds. They come with forever guarantee.
What's a whirlybird? It's
a turbine vent. It uses the wind. Anytime there's a 2.5 mile an hour breeze, it's spinning. I've actually never seen mine not spinning, and that's because the warm air going out, even when it's perfectly still, is making it spin. But those move a lot of air. Like one whirlybird will do about what 4 of your slant back vents will do, so it's fewer roof penetrations.
Any other active roof
power vents? There's a lot of power vents which are both wired or are solar.
Okay.
In cold climates, I would strongly encourage any homeowner to get one with a humidistat as well as a thermostat. So in the winter, if you get condensation or humidity building up, it'll turn on because it's not going to get hot enough to kick the thermostat on, but you put the humidistat in there, then it'll kick on and dry that attic out to keep condensation from forming.
So you still have to have adequate intake ventilation if you have an active exhaust ventilation.
Absolutely. In fact, it's hard to say it's more important, but it's every bit as important.
Yeah. I want to linger on these turbine vents for a little bit because I love turbine vents. How do you know how many turbine vents you need on a roof? Because you said you can have 1 turbine vent basically for 4 box vents. How do you know how many turbine vents you really need?
I would just use our calculator. Figure out the attic square footage, type it in there, and it'll do all the math for you to determine how many.
Have you ever noticed problems in your attic or problems on your roof that you think might be related to ventilation? Let us know about it. Leave a comment down below. You said that there are calculators to figure out how much ventilation that you need. How does that work out? Unpack that for me.
Okay, so in the building code, there's two rules. There's one called the 1 for 150 rule. That's 1 square foot of ventilation for every 150 square feet of attic floor space. That's really only designed to be put on attics that are so small there's not room to fit both intake and exhaust.
Okay.
So usually they'll just put soffit vents and let it cross vent, kind of like opening up windows in your house.
Okay.
Normal roofs, any normal attic will be the 1 for 300 rule. So 1 square foot of ventilation for every 300 square feet of attic floor space. 50 to 60% of that's intake, 40 to 50% of that's exhaust. They want you to err on the side of intake.
And why is that? Why is that important to have more intake than exhaust?
So, excellent question. So, when you have more intake than exhaust, it actually pressurizes that attic and forces air out of all of your exhaust vents. If you ever have more exhaust vents than intake, backflow can occur. That's when an exhaust vent stops exhausting and starts sucking air in.
So then that, what is supposed to be your exhaust vent, starts acting as an intake, and your intake then is your exhaust? Is that, am I understanding it correctly?
Your intake won't become exhaust, but because you have way more exhaust than intake, some of your roof vents, depending what direction the wind will blow, will suck air in.
I see.
And it'll probably go out of another exhaust vent.
I see.
And the problem with that is, in the winter, you can get powdery snow sucked into your attic.
We've talked about a lot of different ventilation types, active versus passive. We've talked about box vents, turbines. We haven't touched on ridge vents yet, but what about mixing those ventilation types? Like, you've got roof box vents already. You want to throw in a turbine vent or a power vent just to give you a little bit more boost.
Yeah, not a good idea. So if you want power vents, only do power vents, and make sure you set the temperature of each thermostat the exact same. Don't stagger them. Have them all turn on at the same temperature. If you're doing turbines, only do turbines. The reason you don't want to mix them is they draw air differently than one another.
Okay.
Not only that, but sometimes I see ridge vent mixed with slant back vents.
Yep.
So most ridge vents will create draw, and they'll pull from the nearest opening, which would be the slant back vent.
Yep.
So you don't want...
So then you've got no ventilation really, except for just in that top part of your attic space.
Top 1.5 feet, yeah. So that's clear. You don't want to do that. So yeah, you don't really want to be mixing them. I mean, they each have their place, I think. Right tool for the job, but don't be mixing and matching them.
So in a different video, which you can watch right here, we talked about the difference between vaulted ceilings and cathedral ceilings. Slate doesn't like that term. Scissor truss versus cathedral ceilings. I would recommend that you watch that. So with that information about scissor truss ceilings, that's going to be hard to not say vaulted. Scissor truss ceilings versus cathedral ceilings. How do you vent a roof like that where there's no attic space?
All right, so in that instance, you really want to have intake and exhaust between each roof joist, because each little section is like its own attic, right? So one truss here, one truss here, it's creating its own little airspace in there. And hopefully they have left that 1-inch air gap between the insulation and the roof deck to allow that air to flow.
So what you don't want to have happen is, let's say you've got the rafters every 2 feet, 24 inches. You don't want the roofer to just put 5 box vents spread across there, because then it's only ventilating that one chamber, essentially.
So ridge vent is a great way to tackle that. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of cathedral ceilings have a big solid beam that runs down the center.
So what is your favorite type of roof ventilation? What would you put on your house?
Well, I've had 3 different homes, and I've had 3 different ventilation systems. And what I'd say my favorite system is one that's balanced with intake and exhaust. The home I'm in now, the reason I use whirlybirds is because I hardly have any ridge, and that was how I could get to where I needed to get. They all do the job. They will all last the life of the roof. With the exception of power vents, those motors will not last the life of the roof. So that's a maintenance item. But every other product that we make and sell will last the life of the roof, and they all will get that 10 fresh air exchanges per hour.
Okay, with you having said that, I want you to tell the story about the 60-year-old turbine vent.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't quite 60, but it was close. So in 2019 in Farmington, Utah, they had 120 mile an hour winds whip through there. And I got a phone call that one of my whirlybirds blew off and 2 stopped spinning. I went there fully expecting it to be another brand, because that's usually what happens. I got there and it was ours. And what had happened is, on the inside of our turbines, they have 1/4-inch thick aluminum bracing. One of those brackets snapped in half under the pressure of that 120-mile-an-hour wind, and it blew off. And when I went to look at the date stamp, it didn't have one. So I called Lomanco and said, hey, you know, this doesn't have a date stamp. And they said, Slate, we started date stamping in 1978. And so I knew that. I said, what do I do about the warranty? He said, forever warranty. Give them 3 brand new vents. And so I thought, good news. So I went to the homeowner. I said, good news, we'll get you 3 new vents next week. Do you have any idea how old this is? And I knew it was old because there was no paint left on it. And he said when his dad built the home in 1969, which was 1 year after we invented the whirlybird. So that's in the windiest city in the Wasatch Front of Utah, and it lasted 50 years up there.
If you want to know about some options for ventilating your roof other than these box vents, watch this video right here. And if you want to geek out on a bunch of videos about maintaining your roof, watch this playlist right here.